Hi guys and welcome. Seeing as it's almost Halloween, I thought I'd show you how to make your very own homemade Barm Brack. Some people call it Barm Brack, Barm Brack, but in Irish it's known as Barm Brack. And Barm is the Irish for little loaf, and then Brack is the Irish for speckled. So that would be the currants and the raisins that we add through it. And it was traditionally made on Iha Hauna, which is Irish for Halloween, which signifies the end of the harvest time. Samhain is harvest time. So first thing you do is heat up a little bit of milk. I have to look at my measurements here. 3/4 of a cup, which is 160 grams or 160 mils of warm milk. And I'm going to add to that 1 sachet, which is 7 grams or 2 teaspoons of dry active yeast, and 1 teaspoon of ordinary sugar in there. And I'm just going to give that a stir as you would anything that any yeast that you're trying to activate. Just give it a stir through and you let it sit for about 10 minutes, okay? Somewhere nice and warm for about 10 minutes. Actually, my agate is off again because we had a little fire. The plug went on fire. Thanks be to God. It was during the daytime, so we're all okay. Anyway, next thing you do is add your flour, and I'm just using normal ordinary flour, plain flour or all-purpose flour. There's 450 grams in here, which is how many cups for my North American peeps? 3.5 cups. So I'm just going to pop that in there. I packed it in here really tight, so it's hard to get it out. And to that, I'm going to add my sugar, which is, how many cups? 1/3 of a cup, 75 grams of caster sugar. I'm also going to add some nice spices here. I have 1 teaspoon of mixed spice, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, I know for those of you in North America, I think you might find it hard to find mixed spice, but if you Google it, you can make your own. All hail the googly. Anyway, I'm also going to add some freshly grated nutmeg. This is one of the greatest smelling things in this house. So it's going to be 1/2 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg. And I'm going to mix all those things together until they're all mixed through. And I'm going to make a little well in the center of this. Can you see that, Maria? So just mix them all through nicely. I'm going to make a little well in the center. And in there I'm going to pop in 1 egg. And I have some melted butter as well, which is where, oh, here it is. I'm going to pop that in there. It's about 56 grams, which is 4 tablespoons for those who don't like it to use grams. Just pop that in there. And then I am going to add my lemon zest. So you want the zest of 1 lemon. If you haven't got one of these little grater fellas, they're absolutely the best thing since sliced bread. And you just want to grate down into your lemon. You don't want to grate down until it's pure white. You want it still to be looking a little bit yellow there because the white part can be very bitter. So just keep twisting your lemon around until you get all of it in there. Now, another ingredient that you're supposed to have in here is mixed peel. Like, you know, the way you could buy the dried mixed peel. I actually don't have any. Thought I had some. And I don't have a car today, so I just thought I would improvise, and I found some dried apricots and dried cranberries. So I chopped up the apricots and they'll do grand. That's the whole thing about home baking. You can actually make things up as you go along, and let's face it, anything homemade is always better than the absolute correct recipe that is shop bought. Okay, so I'm going to have to leave it for a minute until the for about 5 or 6 minutes until the yeast gets activated, and then I'll come back. So guys, if you can see closely in here, this is how the yeast should look. Sorry, I'm tilting it the wrong way. Where do I go? Oh, here. See how fluffy it has become and bubbly? That's what you want. So the sugar has activated with the warm milk and the yeast, okay? So I'm going to just pop that back in here into our other mixture that we've got together. Scrape out all those nice bits. And if you don't have a mixer at this stage, you can just bring it together by hand. But I'm just going to use the mixer today. So I'm just going to pop it in here, and I'm using my dough hook, as you can see. You probably all have a dough hook somewhere in your press and you wondered, what is that for? So I'm just going to bring it together. Oops, turn it on. Nice and slow. And it'll be quite a dry mixture to start because there's not a lot of moisture in there. But don't forget that we're going to add our currants and raisins, which I forgot to tell you about actually. Let me show you here. This is what you do. 4 hours ago, at least 4 hours or overnight, I put some currants and raisins in here. 150 grams of currants and 150 grams of raisins. And I got 1 cup, which is both a cup each, and 1 cup of cold, strong black tea. And I popped them in there. So the raisins and currants have been soaking in black tea for 4 hours. You can do it overnight if you like. Now what I'm going to do is pop it in here just to take all the moisture off. Because you want to hold on to, I still want to hold on to the tea because that's going to be our liquid for our dough here. So if you can get a little look in here, you can see that it's quite a dry mixture. So I'm just going to knead it until it almost comes together, which is happening. Now the next thing you're going to add at this stage is your fruit. So I'm just going to pop my fruit in here and just throw it all in there like that. And my mixed peel, which is pretend mixed peel really, isn't it? But it kind of looks okay. It looks decent to me. So I'm just going to pop those in there as well. And let's see how we get on mixing those together. The moisture that was in the fruit will aid to bring this all together. But I'm just going to add a little drop. Can you see in there, Maria? Yeah. I'm just going to add a little drop of tea in here. So I've added about half the tea mixture. Because what we're looking for here is a nice soft dough. Okay? You can see it's just starting to come together there. You can do all this by hand either. Just get it mixed in. I was about to add some more of the tea mixture, but patience is really required here because I'll end up with too wet a dough. And look, already you can see. So I'm going to mix this together for about 4 or 5 minutes and then I'll be right back. So guys, this has come together really nicely here into a nice, soft, wet, doughy style mixture, okay? You don't want it too dry because it is a cake. And what I'm going to do now is just scrape the sides down and just to get it all together like that, okay? So this is what we have here, and I'm going to cover it with a clean tea towel, and I'm going to leave it somewhere nice and warm, maybe in a nice warm windowsill, or if you have a fire lit beside the fire or your hot press. And it takes 1.5 to 2 hours to rise.
It stopped. Oh, sorry, never mind. It didn't.
Anyway, it's going to take you that long to rise. So it's gonna almost double in size, okay? So I'll just leave that aside for now, and I'm going to tell you what to do with your little bits and pieces that you put into the brack. I'm sure all of you have heard that the brack always has some lovely additions added to it. So some of one of the most famous things is the ring, okay? So you get a little bit of greaseproof paper and wrap your ring nice and small, and then put a little bit of tin foil around it. You don't have to use the tin foil, but sometimes I find the greaseproof paper disintegrates a little bit and you get that in your slice of bread. So the ring signifies marriage. So whoever gets the ring is going to get married within the year. Another thing we have wrapped up here is a matchstick, and the matchstick is not a great one actually. It symbolizes that you're going to be beaten. I think we will just ditch the matchstick, but I'm just teaching you about the old traditions. We're not going to use a matchstick. We have a button in here. Actually no, this is a coin, and the coin symbolizes wealth. We have a button in here. What does the button symbolize, Maria?
I have
bachelorhood or spinsterhood. You may never get married. What is this in here? A bit of cloth. A bit of cloth has different opinions. Some people say it symbolizes poverty, and other people say it symbolizes, you know, you're going to become a nun or a priest if you get that one. And this one is the P, and the P symbolizes that you're not going to get married within the next year. Doesn't mean you're not going to get married at all, but just within the next year. Look, it's a bit of crack. We're just going to throw them into the brack mixture, and probably should add it now actually. There you go. That would make sense, wouldn't it? I'm just going to dip them in there and give them a little stir, because otherwise our mixture is going to, our dough is going to be formed, isn't it? So just give them a wee stir in there, mix them all up. Woo! And you hope that somebody doesn't get the same slice with everything in it. And that's where the chef or the cook comes in to orchestrate that doesn't happen. Alright, so I'll see you in about 2 hours. So hi guys, it's been over 2 hours since I let this baby start to rise, and as you can see it's doubled in size. So I'm just going to punch it back down with clean hands, and that's called knocking back. We're just punching back the air out of it, and I'm going to just scrape it all out here, and I'm just going to use one big tin, and I put one of those pre-made tin liners, and I'm putting that in at the bottom, and then I've just kind of cut some greaseproof paper, and I'm just going to pop that in around the edges just to keep it from sticking to the side. So that's basically my tin prepared, and I'm just going to pour this in here into the tin, and then we let that rise for another, see all the nice little silvery bits, we'll have to hide them really well, otherwise people in this house just go for the nice slices with the treats in it, or the little prizes in it. So just kind of spread that around nicely, just to evenly get it to rise again. Make sure you don't leave any silvery bits at the top that are visible, because we want them to be spread out nice. And we're going to, I need a new spatula. We're going to leave that to rise again for another hour. So this will be ready just in time for our tea. We'll be back in an hour. I'm going to cover it again and leave it to rise. Guys, you're not going to believe how big this has risen. I am so impressed. So if you don't have a big tin like this, put it into 2 loaf tins or 2 smaller tins. So I'm going to put this into the oven now. I've already preheated it to 180 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit for about 50 minutes. But as always, check it halfway through to to see how it's going. Already smells fantastic and you can't see any silvery bits. I'll be right back. So guys, this has been in the oven now for 40 minutes, okay? And I stuck a skewer in and it's pretty much, it's a tiny bit moist at the bottom. So for the last 5 minutes, what I wanted to do was add a sugar syrup onto the top. Now, I just made this by, I put a half a cup of sugar and a half a cup of water. That's my timer telling me that the cake should be done. So you basically just spoon it over the top of the cake, and this is going to give it that lovely, you know when you buy a brack in the shops, it has that lovely kind of glossy finish on the top. Well, this is going to give it that lovely glossy finish just all over the top. And I'm going to pop it back into the oven just for a couple of minutes until the syrup has a chance to just get coated really nicely. If you have a brush, you could have brushed that over the top. I just I didn't bother. Anyway, we'll pop it back into the oven. So here we go, guys. Can you see how wonderfully, beautifully crispy? Is that the right word? Shiny, shiny, shiny. Shiny this is. So I'm going to let it cool and then I'll pop it out, and it smells delicious. I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous. Hope you get a chance. It's a great thing to make with the kids at home over the Halloween midterm break. God bless. See you soon.